is Archives, an Assassin's Creed fan-based podcast covering the lore, histories, and hopefully filling in the gaps of what we already know in the franchise. My name is Louise, also known as the Nerdy Archer across the internet, and I'm your host and archivist. If I sound a little bit sniffly this week, it's because I've just had a cold, but luckily I'm alright now and we can get back to some sweet, sweet Assassin's Creedness. Is that a word? I'm making it a word now. I was hoping that this week I might do a Valhalla themed episode, but someone asked me this really, really good question, and as soon as I got asked it, I have just not stopped thinking about it, so that is this week's episode. Valhalla stuff will start next week, I promise you that. But I figured I would try something a little bit different this week with that question. This is not a biography, nor is it looking at our history and fitting it into the universe of the games. It's rather the opposite. It's more seeing how their canonical world might be extrapolated into ours. So someone asked me the other day on Discord whether I would see myself more as an assassin or a Templar in a modern day setting for the games. I.e., if their world was our world and this conflict was happening before our very eyes, or rather not, because secret conflict, which side would I take? Who would I affiliate my actions towards? And you'd think the answer would be simple, right? We would, or at least I would, want to be one of the assassins, saving the world with some very nifty parkour skills and working for the benefit of all. But when you look at the lore for even the past 15-20 years in universe, so everything since 2000, let alone everything that has happened since the Fry Twins in the 1860s, the result that I came to is a bit more convoluted. As we've seen more and more often in the Assassin's Creed titles, morality is not so black and white anymore. Even Ezio made mistakes and took the life of someone on his own side who he perceived an enemy, and many foes are trying their best to improve something about the world around them. They might not even be doing it maliciously joining the Templars. And concurrently, the assassins aren't always in the right, hence the defection of Shay Cormac in Assassin's Creed Rogue. Assassins sometimes even have members that might hold distorted worldviews and perception on their conflicts, like Pierre Balek. Edward Kenway initially mistook the tenants as permission to behave however he wanted, and that cost him friends and the security in the Caribbean. So we can't just go, oh hey, they're the assassins, they're the good guys, I want to be one of them, anymore. Who are the good guys? How would someone in the universe perceive each part of this conflict? Well, they wouldn't. Remember, while we both know the Brotherhood and the Order exist beyond the Crusades, the war between the Assassins and the Templars is a secret war, and only the rare key figure or notable event in said conflict makes its way into the public domain. At most, we'd know about the Knights Templar and the Hashashin from the Third Crusade, but nothing more than that. Everything else might be discussed as a conspiracy theory or people's motives questioned and have no solid answer for because they were an assassin or a Templar. And as mentioned with Shay Cormac, defections happen. Someone might be start on one side and go to another, or they might not even be a full-fledged initiate to either side. They could be an ally. The problem now in the 21st century is that it is so difficult to draw a line. We see in Syndicate just how instrumental to society some Templar-run and orchestrated businesses are, both for the benefactory elements and for their own gain. Hell, even Abstergo, the modern-day front for the Templars, show research into media, into medical research, and some of the Templars willingly join, knowing they will help finance that, like with Otzoberg. And there are some who may not know they've joined at all. Just how many people that make up their employee numbers are unaware that their honest research is going towards the ends that it is? What happens when they break the non-disclosure agreement they sign when they get employed? In Assassin's Creed Origins, you can find on Lena Hassan's computer the non-disclosure agreement she signed when she started working at Abstergo. And the final line is the thing that people should be most aware about. Abstergo Industries reserves the right to take disciplinary action up to and including termination and memory removal for violation of this agreement. Employees could have been affiliated with Templars this entire time in Abstergo and they would no longer remember because they've had their memory removed. And at what point in their time at the company did people become aware of the Templar Order? Melanie LeMay became Chief Creative Officer, or CCO, after the disappearance of Olivia Garneau during the course of Black Flag, and is inducted into the Templar Order at the same time. But she finds out something about Juno prior to this and emails higher-ups in the company asking about who that is confused. So she doesn't know anything about this conflict or the ones who came before, and she's only one step down from the Inner Sanctum and the Templars themselves. And if we use Melody as an example and this anonymous person that we take the control of Black Flag and Rogue, they don't know. They don't know a thing. They're learning all of this, but who's to say that as soon as they're done with some of these information pieces on the ones who came before and the Assassins and Templars, they will not just have their memory wiped? If that's the case, Abstergo is a worldwide company. Think of something like Microsoft or Apple to us. And that is a lot of unknowing participants in this Assassin-Templar war on the side of the Templars and just without any knowledge of what they're getting into. Make no mistake, at the moment, the Templars are winning. In 2000, there was a massive purge of the Assassin Order because of Daniel Cross becoming a sleeper agent for the Templars. And since then, the Assassins have nearly been wiped out. They are badly losing this war. Ubisoft in their games show the Assassin Brotherhood and their positive attributes in allowing people to live in freedom. The methods may be disreputable at times, but they generally have good intentions and only undergo these different methods with fully consenting adults. But we have seen several times that when assassins have removed a Templar target, it has caused utter mayhem. Just look at Jacob Fry and the consequences throughout most of Syndicate. In earlier games, the Brotherhood could have filled in these gaps of power with more ease, but here, he nearly causes the collapse of a world power multiple times. Templars have created so much of our modern world at this stage and the world that we know, that undoing it by merely eliminating the people in charge with small elements will almost destroy everything around them. Slowly but surely, you could argue that the assassins now are fighting their way back. They are reclaiming ground from the Templars, but not quickly enough, and it's a more monumental task than it probably would have been under the Fries, under Arno, under Ezio, Altair, even the way back to the Order of Ancients in Egypt and Greece. Templars can move within minutes rather than days now, and constant surveillance means it's more and more difficult for assassins to hide and stay undercover. Considering all of these factors, I suppose I must now answer the question I presented at the start. Would I be an assassin or a Templar? And to be honest, it's not the conclusion that I want to come to. If I were aware of everything to do with the Assassin-Templar war, if I was able to find safety or at least continue working without the risk of Abstergo, I would be an assassin, more aligned to the style of Sean Hastings, I feel. Researching and staying away from the front lines of combat most of the time. I can't even climb a flight of stairs without becoming breathless. How am I going to be able to hold my own in a fight? And the Brotherhood now has different roles depending on skills and medical requirements of its individuals. You could be more aligned with combat or training with the Animus. Technology and coding is also a big part of what they do now, as well as historical research. So it's not all just blades in dark corners. But as I said before, it's difficult to disappear now. With CCTV everywhere and everything basically turning online and needing this online presence, how would an assassin disappear and continue to live something of a normal life without raising suspicion? Like, Sean Hastings originally got started because he posted something on WikiLeaks about the true nature of Abstergo, and they sent a kill squad after him. And walking medical clinics for free healthcare, they're able to reach the DNA of anyone who walks in, and this is how they find out about Callum Lynch and Elijah in universe. Imagine for a moment that you are an intern at any Abstergo facility. For me personally, it would be in the Historical Research Division, headed by Simon Hathaway. And one day you slip up, you see something that you weren't meant to see. And suddenly you realise conspiracy theories on the internet that you originally dismissed were correct, and you're trapped in this cycle. Provided that Abstergo hasn't already terminated your contract or wiped your memory, you're in serious danger. And it's so easy for Abstergo now to make people disappear, whether it's a fake life after an execution with Callum, or Desmond where he was literally just picked off the streets and never heard from again. And if they find out you have Isu blood, or you have some remnant of the triple helix, they're gonna keep you, they're going to go through your DNA, make you go through the Animus training stuff. In the very best scenario, you are used quickly. At the very worst, you are subjected to the bleeding effect over and over again. The dream scenario here is to be one of the assassins, but I think the more probable, likely reality is that you are part of the Templars as this unknowing puppet gathering information for them, if you are affiliated with either side at all. Sometimes saying nothing will mean you are on the side of the oppressor. Being neutral here is pro-Templar. And if you think, okay, this can't be possibly me, I'm a very good person, well, just take a look at the language used around you. What do news reports and paper articles say about movements and campaigns for things like climate change or queer rights? Or even people wearing hoodies in public or parkour? How do you and people you talk to on a regular basis discuss important matters? What about the words used to refer to those less fortunate than yourselves? Are they kind of derogatory? Or do they have this genuine desire to help? This may be a case of he who increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow, but it's important to think critically about things like this. So with this realization, what can we do in the long run? As I'm aware, this is quite a low note to end the podcast on. The important thing is to educate yourselves. Learn about these problems and just express some kindness to those in need. Reach out and help one another. Anything from supporting someone's argument or donating to a vital fundraiser, to campaigning or civil disobedience. Work with your skills and what you can do to help. Ultimately, the only way I could see a total Templar victory is if the entire world has all given up hope. With 8 billion people, I don't think that's a very likely conclusion. But I hope you enjoyed this thought process and this slightly different episode of the Rookery's archives. This was made possible by a suggestion from one of you, so thank you very much. If you have any suggestions on future topics, from things like my favourite Assassin's Robes list, to a biography of key characters or any content creators who you would like to see as a guest on this show, please comment down below or message me on YouTube or on the Twitter that will be linked below if you would like to get in touch. If you like what you heard and you would like to stay around, please subscribe. I post new episodes every Sunday. And I was also a guest on this week's Visions of the Past episode where we discussed the Brotherhood of Venice board game. I have linked that below and shall be somewhere in the title card at the end. If you would like to go check that out, go say hi to them. And all of my socials and where you can find me are linked in the description below, along with any other reading and sources that I used for this episode. But we've come to the end of our tale, and I'm afraid our time is up for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Louise, I have been your archivist today, and I hope to see you flying back to the Rookery soon.